President Trump torches Iran deal, calling it totally unacceptable. Warns they will be laughing no longer. Oil prices exploding. Greetings, humanity. Let's grok the news, starting with the most important story in the world today. Dateline, Washington, D.C. Tensions over the Iran war remain high as President Donald Trump has flatly rejected Tehran's latest response to a U.S. peace proposal, calling it totally unacceptable. The development dims immediate hopes for ending the 73-day conflict that has roiled global energy markets and raised fears of wider escalation. Trump, speaking via his Truth Social platform, dismissed Iran's reply delivered through Pakistani mediators. "I have just read the response from Iran's so-called representatives. I don't like it. Totally unacceptable." He added a pointed warning. They will be laughing no longer. The remarks came hours after a reported very nice call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Iran's response, according to state media and officials, included demands for an end to hostilities, guarantees against future aggression, the lifting of U.S. sanctions, Iranian management of the Strait of Hormuz, and a ceasefire in Lebanon. Tehran described its position as generous and responsible, while accusing Washington of maintaining unreasonable demands. Netanyahu, in a CBS interview, reinforced Israel's hard line, stating the war with Iran is not over. He emphasized the need to dismantle Tehran's enriched uranium stockpiles, nuclear sites, and proxy networks. Israeli officials continued to stress that security threats from Iran's nuclear program and regional militias must be neutralized. The impasse has immediate economic fallout. Brent crude oil prices predictably jumped following Trump's comments, reflecting ongoing concerns over shipping disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz and potential renewed attacks on energy infrastructure. Asian economies, already bracing for higher fuel costs and reduced remittances from the Gulf, are bracing for further shocks. This marks day 73 of the conflict that began in late February. A fragile ceasefire had taken hold last month, but violations and unresolved core issues, particularly Iran's nuclear ambitions and proxy activities in Lebanon and elsewhere, have kept the situation volatile. U.S. officials have signaled that military options remain on the table if diplomacy collapses. In Iran, an Iranian activist told the BBC that fears of renewed war are compounding the trauma of years of repression and economic hardship. Food inflation is hammering ordinary households inside Iran. Meanwhile, Nobel Prize laureate Narges Mohammad was moved to a hospital in Tehran after receiving bail. International reactions are mixed. European nations and Gulf states are watching closely, with some urging restraint. China has signaled it is fully aware the war was imposed on Iran, while Russia continues its own parallel diplomacy. The upcoming Trump-Xi meeting is now expected to heavily feature pressure on Tehran, even from China. Analysts warn that without a breakthrough, the risk of renewed direct strikes remains elevated. Trump has previously indicated Washington could intensify operations if Iran does not agree to terms addressing nuclear enrichment, proxies, and regional stability. For now, the diplomatic track through mediators like Pakistan appears stalled, leaving the markets nervous and the populations on edge across the Middle East. Frankly, this observer expects that these wicked, savage mullahs may never see the light. Perhaps they just need more heat. I'm Robert Gardner, using Grok each weekday to truthfully summarize the news and I season it up and serve it with my opinions. I'm honest about it anyway. We review a roundup of the most critical reports in the world right after this. M.S. Gardner, my beautiful, brilliant wife, is author of last year's Moon Meridian Prize winner from April Gloaming Publishing, Wolf's Bane, a dark, serious, modern take on an old fairy tale. Why, you've never heard Little Red Riding Hood told like this. Wolf's Bane, available now at thecuriousauthor.com. All one word, thecuriousauthor.com, also available on Amazon. Now we grok the headlines from around the world. Dateline London. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is fighting for his political survival following Labour's unprecedented, heavy election defeat. It was a rout. In a major speech today, he is attempting to convince party members of Parliament to back him while pledging to bring Britain closer to the European Union as internal calls for his ouster intensify. Why, this observer could be the rest of the day relating his observations about Keir Starmer. Dateline Beijing and Washington. That high-stakes meeting between Presidents Donald Trump and Xi Jinping is imminent as U.S.-China tariffs remain in focus. Discussions are expected to cover trade issues, technology restrictions, and, of course, additional pressure on Iran amid the ongoing Middle East conflict. Dateline Moscow and Kiev. Russia and Ukraine are trading fresh accusations of violating U.S.-brokered ceasefire agreements. President Vladimir Putin has hinted that the Ukraine war may be nearing an end, though both sides continue to report incitements that threaten the fragile truce. Dateline Bangkok. Thailand's divisive former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra has been released from prison after serving 8 months for abuse of power convictions. His early release raises fresh questions about the future of Thai politics and whether the long-dominant Thaksin era is truly ending amid deep national divisions and ongoing power struggles. This is a global dateline. Oil prices continue surging amid Iran war uncertainty, driving energy shocks across Asia and beyond. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has urged citizens to cut fuel use, limit foreign travel, and reduce gold buying as the conflict disrupts shipping lanes and raises household costs worldwide. This dateline is in Texas. A Texas woman, 22-year-old Grace Carol Brown, has been indicted for the attempted arson of the Republican Party headquarters in a case that highlights heightened U.S. political tensions. Authorities say the suspect targeted the Texas GOP office, listing Trump and ICE among her targets, and prompting renewed concerns about domestic extremism and security at political facilities. This observer sees a pretty red-headed Antifa girl. Oh, it's obvious. She looks like she fell face first in a box of fishing tackle. Dateline Washington. The U.S. Department of Justice's Operation Iron Pursuit has netted 350 child sex predators in a sweeping nationwide effort. Officials issued strong warnings that more arrests are coming and emphasized their commitment to protecting children from online and offline exploitation networks. Dateline Washington. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says her ambition is way bigger than running for president in 2028. The socialist lawmaker downplayed immediate White House speculation while signaling she is focusing on broader national transformation goals beyond a single election cycle. Good for her. Good for us. Dateline. Pop star Dua Lipa is suing Samsung Electronics for $15 million over the unauthorized use of her image. The singer claims the company placed her likeness on television packaging without permission, sparking a high-profile intellectual property dispute. Another global Dateline, Eurovision, faces potential lasting changes due to ongoing fallout over Israel's participation. Controversy surrounding the competition has intensified debates about political influences in the event and could reshape rules and participation standards for future years. This observer remembers when we used to pretend that international sporting events were supposedly above politics. Not so in a world polarized by Islamic jihad and communism. All things must serve propaganda interests. Dateline Spain. A Hantavirus outbreak aboard the MV Hondius expedition last week has triggered major international evacuations and quarantines after the vessel returned from Antarctic waters last week. Multiple cases, including fatalities, were confirmed too, prompting urgent medical monitoring. I think there were another 11, maybe. Passengers, including U.S., French, Irish, and other nationals, are being flown home under strict protocols, with health authorities in Indonesia, Australia, and Nebraska preparing quarantine facilities as global tracking of this virus that is very difficult to spread from person to person as tracking continues. This observer would remind everyone that we are so far only talking about a very limited number, perhaps a dozen individuals on a close quarters cruise ship who suffered, with only 2 fatalities. A week of daily news coverage of this event by the world's media seems unwarranted. I only included it because Grok is overwhelmed with the number of stories on what is actually a relatively unimportant event. That's my opinion, and I thank you for listening. Please join me tomorrow to once again Grok the News. I'm Robert Gardner. Godspeed, and God bless.